One of the most compelling stories from the age when Europeans explored the Americas is the search for Eldorado. In Spanish, Eldorado means the Golden One, and described the legend of a city or kingdom, allegedly located in some South American region, that held incalculable gold resources. The Colombian myth of the Golden Man is intimately intertwined with the Eldorado tale. The origin of this legend can be traced back to the Muisca, one of the indigenous civilizations that populated the Altiplano Cundiboyacinsi regions of present-day Colombia prior to the Spanish arrival. The myth states that the Eldorado legend is rooted in a Muisca ceremony. This was a ritual for the investiture of a new Muisca Confederation leader. During this procedure, the new chief, known as the Golden Man, was doused in gold dust and sailed on a raft to the center of the Guatavita, a sacred lake near the present-day Bogota. Once the first Spanish conquerors arrived in the region, they heard about these ceremonies and the huge sums of gold involved. They mistook these stories as evidence of an entire city made of gold, where the streets were cobbled with it and the buildings were covered in precious jewels. This location became known as Eldorado. A 16th century Spanish explorer named Juan Martinez reportedly cited the legendary town of Eldorado. His story is frequently quoted in chronicles and accounts by pioneers of the time, although the accuracy of his account is widely debated. Martinez was apparently charged with negligence after allowing a depot of gunpowder to be ruined in a shipyard fire which he was overseeing. As punishment, he was exiled by his superiors and sent to the South American interior, where he was captured by natives. The natives, according to legend, took Martinez to a magnificent city, lavished with gold and other gems, where he was treated with respect and hospitality. Having spent some time in the city, Martinez succeeded in escaping and returning to Spanish civilization. As he told his story, he detailed the wealth he had seen, further fueling the Eldorado legend and spurring new expeditions in search of the Golden City. The search for Eldorado rose to prominence especially during the 16th century, when the Spanish were keen to spread their territories and wealth. Several expeditions were undertaken to find this legendary spot. Gonzalo Pizarro's Eldorado expedition is one of the most well-known and dramatic attempts to find the legendary Golden City. Led by the brother of the conquistador Francisco Pizarro, this expedition began in 1541 and was noted for its ambition, extreme obstacles, and the discovery of the Amazon River by Francisco de Orellana, a significant historical event. Gonzalo Pizarro was by then an experienced conqueror, having taken part in the conquering of the Inca Empire alongside his brother Francisco. In 1541, he gathered a large force of about 220 Spanish soldiers and 4,000 native auxiliaries, as well as numerous horses, dogs, and supplies. They set off from Quito, in present-day Ecuador, heading east in hope of finding Eldorado. The mission immediately encountered major difficulties as it crossed the Andes and entered the Amazon jungle. The thick vegetation, piranha-filled rivers, and other natural hazards made the journey extremely difficult. Tropical diseases and food shortages gravely affected the health of the expedition participants. Many perished from hunger and disease. Tension mounted as resources dwindled and hopes of finding Eldorado vanished. Pizarro dispatched a smaller detachment, led by Francisco de Orellana, when the expedition reached a critical point, hoping to explore ahead and find supplies. Orellana followed the course of a large river, having the expectation of finding food and help for the main expedition. Due to the hardships and the impossibility of returning, Orellana and his group ended up sailing down the river to the Atlantic, becoming the first Europeans to sail the entire length of the Amazon River. Although this journey did not find Eldorado, it was one of the greatest exploring feats of the time and expanded European knowledge of South American geography. Gonzalo Pizarro's mission failed. After suffering for months and unable to find the Golden City, he and the survivors returned to Quito in 1542, with only a handful of men out of the thousands who had started. They were exhausted, sick, and discouraged. Other expeditions ensued in the following centuries, with explorers of different nationalities trying to unravel the Eldorado mystery. The English explorer Sir Walter Raleigh was among them. He headed 2 expeditions to the north of South America, driven by the legends of a golden city brimming with magnificent wealth. Walter Raleigh believed that Eldorado was hidden deep within Guyana, a region then barely known and largely uncharted by Europeans. Walter Raleigh was granted permission by Queen Elizabeth I to search for Eldorado, driven both by the longing for wealth and the opportunity to expand British rule in South America. The expedition sought to find the mythical kingdom, and at the same time establish an English foothold in the region to counter Spanish influence. Raleigh departed from England with a small fleet and headed for the island of Trinidad. After securing the city of San Jose de Oruña and getting information from the Spanish and natives on the mainland's treasures, he sailed up the Orinoco River to present-day Venezuela. When exploring it, he encountered challenges such as navigating uncharted waters, tropical diseases, and the local people's resistance. Notwithstanding the difficulties, he and his crew reached the Caroni River region, where Raleigh believed he was close to Eldorado, but no trace of the city was ever found. Upon returning to England, he published a book in 1596 describing his adventures and the purported Eldorado reports. While he had not found the City of Gold, his account helped fuel the myth and inspired subsequent expeditions. After falling out of favor and being jailed for several years, Raleigh was freed by King James I with the promise of finding Eldorado and bringing wealth to the English crown. He set sail again for Guyana in 1617 with a larger fleet and his son, Wat Raleigh. The second expedition encountered even more setbacks. Now older and debilitated, Raleigh refrained from participating actively in the journey, delegating the task to his captains. The expedition headed up the Orinoco again, but soon became entangled in clashes with the Spanish, breaching King James I's orders to avoid hostilities. Raleigh's son was killed during an attack on a Spanish outpost. Broken by the loss and conscious of the expedition's failure to find Eldorado, he decided to return to England. On his arrival, he was arrested again, accused of not following royal orders and inciting hostilities with the Spanish. Sir Walter Raleigh was put to death in 1618 on the previous charges of treason, aggravated by his failure to find Eldorado and the diplomatic problems he caused with Spain. While the city was never found, the Eldorado legend continued to exert a powerful fascination over people's imaginations throughout the centuries. It has inspired innumerable works of art, literature, and cinema, and the name Eldorado is still synonymous with wealth and buried treasures.